In today's video, I'll talk about 4 things you likely underestimate about your interviewer. The first thing I want to talk about here is the amount of time they took to read your CV. Now, most of the time they will actually have your CV in front of them and they will have looked at your CV prior to this, but if you screen CVs for a living, then you'll probably scan through a CV in 10-15 seconds. So needless to say, you won't have all the information from that CV, and CVs are not always perfect, so if they're not constructed in the best possible way, then there's even less information that gets to the interviewer, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because this actually represents a unique opportunity for you to capitalize on your tell me about yourself. And to give an extreme example, I once had someone which during their on-site interview 6 times in a row they were asked, tell me about yourself, like 6 rounds, 6 interviewers, tell me about yourself. So this is why it's important to polish your tell me about yourself. The second thing you would want to keep in mind for a job interview is the interviewer will likely go, or a good interviewer will always go to great lengths to bring you off track somehow during an interview. Bringing you off track is not necessarily, asking you a question for which you don't have an answer. Although, this is the easiest example to give, but they might also very well make you feel too comfortable. So you will give them even the information that you wouldn't otherwise be interested in giving them, in providing them. So don't underestimate these things, because the best possible interviewers are the ones that bring that element of surprise in a job interview, because interviewing should be a surprising experience with questions you haven't prepared for in the first place. Number 3, you're likely underestimating the amount of notes and the amount of information they have to pass on about yourself. And also, in many cases, that interviewer has to make a higher or no higher recommendation about yourself. Now, how can you capitalize on these things? Well, one way, the best way I know to capitalize on these things is to communicate better to them. So, let me put it this way, to give an example. If you talk for 5 minutes straight on something that you could have told me in 2 minutes or less, chances are that during those 5 minutes I'm going to take notes continuously and I'm going to repeat myself continuously as well, which won't be very comfortable for me to do. So that's why I know your choice of words in that communication will also inevitably impact the quality of their notes that they will send on to the hiring manager, for example. So that's why the way you speak is, and your choice of words here, the substance that you use is also something that actually matters in these interviews. So now how can you improve this? Well, it's pretty generic advice: improve your communication skills, but usually you will never want to talk about something for 5-10 minutes if that something can be concisely put. And you would also want to use quantifiers, metrics, because those are also things that can be easily noted down, right? Can easily give them a perception about yourself. So the amount of information they have to relay on is also something you want to think in advance of, and how can you capitalize on these things. And last but not least, it's the rapport building phases of your interview. So let there be no doubt, those interviewers are humans, and they are probably not only going to screen you that day, so it's inevitable that they will have a biased way of doing things, or I should say biased in a good way, because a candidate who introduces themselves on the phone with "hello" will never do as great as with someone introducing, "Hi, I'm Dan Croit," or "Thank you for calling me," right? So I have another video to help you, with this rapport building phase, especially in a phone interview if you want. But generally speaking, it's throughout the conversation. It's not only during those first couple of minutes of a phone screen, but also the first couple of minutes in a video interview, or for example, the closing notes, when you ask some questions for them, that's also, a very important element also of rapport finally. And being thankful for the unique opportunity, because after all, you're not every day interviewing with with this interviewer, and you're not every day having such opportunities. So this rapport building phase is something that you would definitely want to pay attention to and prepare in advance going to job interviews. So these are the 4 things I believe are worthwhile taking into account when it comes to dealing with an interviewer. And hopefully you found this interesting, and thank you very much for watching.